All right, so now we're going to start to work on the edit functionality, but not only that, just getting the correct contact into the form. So we're going to go to our contact state file where we have all of our state, which right now is just a hard-coded array of contacts. Now I'm going to add to this. So under the array here, I'm going to add a value of current, and current I'm going to set to an empty object by default. I'm sorry, no, I'm going to set it to null. Okay, so this is set to null, and basically what I want to happen is when we click edit, I want whatever that contact is that we click edit for to be put into this piece of state. So it'll be an object, and then we can change things in the UI based on that. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Now I'm going to just save this, and I'm going to go to, let's see, I want to go to contact item where we have our edit button. And in contact item, let's see, we're going to have on our edit button here, let's do, you know what we'll do is in our contact state, let's create the set current contact method here. So I'll just copy this, and we're going to change this to a function called set current, and it's going to take in the actual contact so we know which one to set, and then we're going to call the type of set current, and the payload is going to be the contact. Okay, so then and while we're at it, we might as well do the clear current, which just clears it back to null. So I'll just go ahead and grab that, and let's change this to clear current, and this isn't going to take anything in, so we can just do empty parentheses, and we're going to call clear current, and we don't need to send a payload because we're just setting it back to null. Right? Yeah, so let's save that, and then let's go to our reducer, and let's create down here, we want to check for those types. So under the delete, let's do case set current. Oops. I don't know why that keeps happening. So case set current, and when this happens, we want to return our current state, and then for the current value, it's just going to be the payload, which is the entire object, the entire contact object. And then for clear current, let's just copy this, and for, let's see, clear current, we're going to just set current back to null, like that. Now, inside of our contact state, we need to add a couple things down in our provider. So first of all, we have a new piece of state called current. So we need to add that state.current. Okay, we also have two more methods. So one is set current and one is clear current. So we want to make sure we add those. Otherwise, we won't be able to access them from any components. So now let's go to our contact item, and we want to bring in from our context, which we already have access to the context. In addition to delete contact, let's bring in set current so that we can call it. And when we want to call it is when we click the edit button. So down here, I'm going to say on click, and I want to call it directly. So I'm going to just do an arrow function here and then call set current and pass in the current contact, which ultimately is coming from the prop right here that's being passed in to the item. So let's save that, and let's go back. Now, if I click edit, we're not going to see any difference in the UI. However, I'm just going to reload here and go to my React DevTools, and we want to go to our contact state context provider. And if we look in value, you can see that current is null by default. Now, if I click edit for Jill Johnson, notice that it changes, and now she's put inside of that. If I click edit on Sarah Watson, now she's put inside of current. Okay, so it's going to hold whatever we click edit, it's going to hold that specific contact, and that's what we want. And in the next video, we're going to make it so that the current contact is put in this form. But before we do that, there's a few places we're going to want to do clear current when we want to just clear it back to null. One of those is when we delete. Okay, if we delete one of these, I want the current to just reset, especially if the current is the one that we're deleting. So let's go ahead and also bring into contact item clear current. So right here we'll say clear current, and we want to call this in our on delete right here. So let's say clear current, and that should be all we have to do for now. So I'm going to save that, and there's a few other places we'll need to call this, but I think that that's all we need to do for now. All right, so and just to test that out, if we look at our context provider and we go to value, and if we hit edit, current gets filled. Now if I delete any of these, current goes back to null, which is what I want. All right, so in the next video, we're going to work on the form and making this more dynamic so that we can actually add contacts to it and change it up a little bit. We're going to add a clear button and some other stuff.